So, like the basic storyline of a film, it follows a queer activist from Seoul, Pilgyu Shin, and he talks us through the movie about his childhood, about the struggles he's encountering as a queer person, or as specifically as a gay person in Korea, and what his life is, and yeah, how there are many obstacles in the way of queer people in South Korea, especially through the Christian churches. So they're very anti-queer and do everything they can to hinder them in getting more rights in this country and stuff like this. But he also talks us through how there are problems within the queer community. So there's like very like a lot of like separations within the community. They don't count themselves as like a big community, but it's rather the gay community, the trans community, and the lesbians, and so on and so on. So it's like very there are a lot of problems in the community. So this is what he kind of like talks us through, and how the day-to-day life as a queer person in Seoul goes.
Yeah, I think when we did the movie, we were really surprised also because there's like this very famous picture of South Korea being a progressive country in the West. And it was just very surprising to us that the society itself is quite conservative still, and that the churches, due to historical developments, have a lot of influence on politics. And that's also like a very important aspect that's in our documentary.
Yeah, I find it very like moving, and in a very good way, because you don't like put piano music under it, so everybody makes their own assumptions in the film, and it's very creatively done, as we've seen here, like with animation and this great idea about the pressure of a squid underwater. And how did you came to the idea to visualize it like this?
I think the animation part was due to one of the protagonists, Jay, not wanting to be shown in the video, since Jay is a trans non-binary person, and they face like a lot of backlash for being trans and non-binary, so they didn't want to be shown in a film. So this was like the first like inspiration, or not inspiration, but the reason why we had to put animation. But I mean, there are many different ways on how we could have not shown Jay. So we did decide to go for a more artistic approach, as we come from a more artistic or creative background ourselves. We're not traditional filmmakers, and we wanted to break it a little bit and bring something new into it.
Yeah, definitely. And also we're really like inspired by how other artists and filmmakers are trying to push the boundaries. What we really like is when other movie makers just don't constrain themselves within like typical genres, but they try to make hybrid movies, or like there's so many different genres out there. When it comes to documentary, it's really inspiring to also see fully animated documentaries, and we thought that this was like the most efficient way to include creative elements but still like stay true to what our original vision was.
Yeah. And some things strike really hard for me, like for example, you said like safety is not ideal. It's like very fragile, and it can turn over at any moment. So it's important to make yourself visible. Because in Germany also we have a lot of sayings like keep it to yourself, don't worry about. But if you don't like make an that like show yourself, it's hard, and it's like it takes a lot of sacrifice for people like this to be like on the forefront of these the aggressions against the queer community. Can you like give us a little bit of a roundabout, like how it is in Seoul? You see a lot in the film, but maybe for the audience that has not seen it yet.
Yeah, so like in South Korea in general, there's not a lot of like, here we have a lot of like protests about maybe queer issues, like the queer festivals and stuff. And in Korea, this is like very rare. Like they do have queer festivals, but they haven't been running for long. So this is like the main point that they like the main festival or event that they have to like kind of show themselves and like be vocal about it and have like this big of a crowd, because like the community itself it lives a lot like in online spaces, like on Twitter and stuff. They do have places like bars and stuff, but they don't really like gather as a community there. It always happens online. So the queer festivals are very important for them. And there it's actually it's actually not really safe, because you have to imagine like there's the queer festivals like on like a
like on the plaza in front of the governmental buildings. It's like the big pride, what you can see on TV also.
Yeah. And around it, there's always the anti-pride, which is hosted by the conservative church, and they are very violent. They do attack the queer people there. They also attack them when they try to register for the pride event and all of this. So at every stage, they are faced with a violent physical violence. So it's it's very tough, we imagine.
Yeah, there were like really crazy stories that our protagonists also told us. Like, for instance, that people would like literally shit into a bag and then throw that bag into the crowd, which is really, effed up in a way. Or even like where they told us that they had previous experience with spies, where Christian people would pretend to be LGBTQ people and then try to involve themselves within the organization of a pride, and then only to get information on where which persons are going to be during the pride, so they can attack them. So it's crazy. You wouldn't even think that they are organized to this level. But then again, the role of the church is also like a really, really big thing in our film, because when we went to Seoul the first time, and there's like this very popular district, Gangnam, which there was a song about, and it's this huge district with skyscrapers, and people know, for instance, that many people go there for plastic surgery institutions. But what a lot of people don't know is that many of those skyscrapers are actually churches. Like, these churches are not organized like in European countries. They are like basically like huge businesses with huge congregations with at least more than tens of thousands of members, which we cannot even imagine. So if a church, like if there's like a pastor saying, don't vote this politician will lose like 10,000 votes, and this can be really like decisive in a election. So that's how they can also impact and influence politics and prevent the making of the anti-discrimination law.
Yeah, and it's like very troubling when you see like the church should be there for equality, and like the Christianity like ideals are basically like treat everybody as you would treat yourself or something, and then you see like all this just conformism that comes from church and like restrictions, and yeah, it's almost like the Bible Belt in the USA or something. And how did you find your protagonists, and was it like difficult to shoot with them?
First we like sent out a lot of emails to organizations and also like private people such as drag artists and stuff, and we got the contact to Pilgyu, who ended up being our protagonist, and he kind of opened the way for us, and he was like recommending us as filmmakers kind of to other people, as shown right here. The Lodan Dance Studio, we got the contact through him, and so he was kind of like really our path opener, kind of
door opener,
exactly. And but also through like private contacts, like other students that worked that studied together with us, they knew some people, and also like the student clubs. There was like an LGBTQ student club at our university, so through that we also got some contacts to protagonists.
Yeah, like a lot of connections that we were able to grow were like from private relationships, definitely, because it's like this thing that even like our protagonists told us that they don't even like, obviously it's really difficult to come out in a society like that, but even their family, it's like this weird thing in Korea where it's almost like this parallel society, because when these people would come to Germany, many of us queers would be able to recognize that they are queer because of some certain mannerisms or interests that we share, because we ourselves are also queer filmmakers. So we can relate to these things and topics, which also help us to connect to these people in the first place, I guess. But then, like, for instance, Charlie, another protagonist of ours, who's a drag artist, told us that he would sometimes do like full-on drag makeup and has even like a rainbow flag in his room, in his bedroom, and his mom would come in and she wouldn't even think about him being a gay person, which is crazy because like it's completely different there than here. Like the topic is such a huge taboo topic that people wouldn't even dare to think about the option that their children are queer. So yeah.
Yeah, because like in our media, they always portray like South Korea as like progressive, like like super na, Wirtschaft, what do you say?
Yeah, economic superpower,
Economic
tiger
growth and
state.
yeah, and this stuff always gets like put under the carpet. And that's why I find it so impressive, the film, how it's done, And I see also a lot of frustration in one of the protagonists who said like, we have to go now, we have to make moves, and after that we find a resolution. So you see like the pain inside that transforms into anger, which is totally understandable.
Yeah. There was also like, sorry. It's definitely something that we also talked about, like between ourselves a lot, like this thing, like this learning where they were like, I think you're referring to this part where he's like, people always say you have to wait for social acceptance and then you can dare to move and create change. But he says, like basically Charlie says, it's the other way around, because since they are a minority or we are a minority, we cannot wait for the majority to suddenly, feel empathy, because they are actively profiting from the status quo. So there's no reason for them to change it. So and this sentence that he said has a particular deep meaning, because in Korea, society also is very, very focused on being homogenous. Nobody wants to stand out. It's like when you walk down the street in Seoul, couples, they always wear, like, not always, but they often wear couple t-shirts. When you go to a restaurant, on the menu, there's always this first page, what's most popular, and people will often order what other people order. And it has a completely different meaning when you stick out in that kind of society, because it's undesirable to stick out. It's not like the saying in Europe, oh, everyone's like a special snowflake. People don't get that. So when Charlie said that he doesn't want to wait for social acceptance anymore, it was like a really, really moving and powerful thing for us to hear, because it has so much meaning in that society specifically.
Yeah, you basically have to demand your rights, otherwise they won't give it to you. Which makes maybe a nice bridge to our this year's theme, which is freedom. What is it good for? Maybe you two can like answer that, maybe regarding to the film or to your personal experience.
Well, I think like on very surface level, I think freedom for like people in South Korea, especially queer people and other minorities as well that we didn't cover, but there definitely are people that also suffer from discrimination. Yeah,
with the disability group.
Especially, yes, we also talked to someone about this. This is also very bad situation for them. But I think like it just it gives them safety. It gives them like, how do you say?
It's like the safety to be free. Like freedom is when you are safe to be free, like when you can express yourself freely without being persecuted or attacked. And just like when we talk about freedom, sometimes it's like the most basic things that we take for granted in our societies, even in Germany there are a lot of like intersectional layers of discrimination still that we have to face as a society. But it's crazy how we take things for granted, and then you get into, like, you go to Korea and then you figure that there are so many things that people are still discussing. Definitely that aspect. And then I don't know, it's like a huge topic, right? Like freedom. I think even if we talk about in a like filmmaking perspective, to be able to tell that story was also it was an honor to us that we were able to even like gain the trust of these people, because if they're so vulnerable that they don't even talk to their like some of their closest relatives about it, it's like there's a huge responsibility that we have when we create stories about freedom, because like freedom is always, it means different things to different people. And the way we go about when we make a film is we also have like these personal perspectives, and there's no way that we can make an objective documentary, right? So how do we balance that out, like our personal values, and how can we create a story that is actually about them and not like through a filter of our own biases? So I guess that's what we hope. I mean, we were like, I was really happy when you said that the movie was done in a way that you thought that every person that watches this can get their own ideas on the topic. And I think that's also what freedom is, that you are able to discuss a topic or a film and that you can have like your own reflections on it.
Yeah, because that's why we chose the film also, because it's like I never felt pushed in any way in the film, which is a big good thing in a documentary especially, and with the topic. And yeah, I want to thank you very much again for this, and I'm very I say like humbled about your protagonists, and like I'm very you should admire people like that who like sacrifice so much to go in front with other films about current reporters or as you said, different ideas. Filmmakers from Iran that can even get jailed for an interview like this, and this is like an all-encompassing thing. And thank you again very much for this film, Burning Blue. It will be shown on the 26th of October on Thursday in Block 1. So on the opening night, we are very happy. And thank you so much for your film.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Yeah. For the opportunity as well.
Ja, und Grüße nach Hamburg.
Dankeschön.
Grüße nach Weimar.